Jay White is being wasted in AEW. That is a sentiment that many professional wrestling fans feel right now. And the fact of the matter is, there is truth to this matter. Jay White was one of the hottest free agents when he hit the open market back in 2023. And it was even reported that he was fielding offers from both AEW and WWE at the time. And as someone who had built up the credibility that Jay White did, you could very easily see why both companies would be interested. Jay White is a former IWGP World Champion. He has had a bit of exposure already on the North American scene at that point. He had been at a Forbidden Door show defending the IWGP World Championship match in a fatal four-way. He had actually main evented and been a part of the Madison Square Garden Supercard of Honor Ring of Honor show back in 2019. And given the fact that Jay White had all of the ability in the world in the ring, combined with that, it was a no-brainer that both WWE and AEW would be interested. And this was also during a time where both companies were very competitively competing for talent, yet he never signed with WWE, arguably the bigger company, the company that could likely offer him more and had already signed the likes of Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and other former leaders of the Bullet Club. And the reason was quite shocking. It was because Jay White actually was negotiating with WWE, but they ended up essentially ghosting him. And this was all in the lead up to WrestleMania 39. And while we don't know specifics about why or how all of that happened, what we do know is that Jay White was in negotiations with WWE, and then he heard nothing back. And while it's easy for many people to kind of look back and say, well, he should have waited or he should have done X, Y, and Z, the reality is, if you were Jay White, you're not going to just wait around for another offer to come to, especially after you've given nearly a decade to this business and put your body on the line in the way that he has, given the style that he has. At a certain point, you have to do what the smart thing is, and that is cash in on your success, cash in on your notoriety, and make that bread. And that is what Jay White decided to do. He did not hear back from WWE, so instead he signed with AEW. And while the run hasn't gone as smoothly as people maybe wanted, the fact of the matter is his first year in AEW showed a bit of promise, especially over the summer. After Collision was introduced, Jay White became a Collision cowboy. Himself and the Bang Bang Gang got very over, and there was potential for Jay White to be one of the guys on that Collision show, really leading that brand, especially given the fact that that show served with a brand split with Dynamite. It offered Jay White a chance to be a star by himself and kind of own that brand. And considering some of the matches that we got, including a now infamous 2 out of 3 falls tag team match between the Bang Bang Gang and FTR, one of the greatest television tag team matches of all time, things were off to a very hot start with the Switchblade Jay White, and the potential would only grow from there. Jay White then went into a feud with Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, who just so happened to be the AEW World Champion at the time. And after an initial promo that served so much purpose, they then did a very interesting and some would say convoluted storyline of Jay White stealing the AEW World Championship in the lead up to Full Gear 2023. And as many of you know, Full Gear 2023 had a very panned main event, arguably one of the worst main events in the history of All Elite Wrestling, the match between Jay White and MJF, where MJF, after another convoluted angle featuring an injury with him and Adam Cole, who already had a broken leg, trying to come in and replace Max at the last second, none of it hit. None of it felt good. None of it felt real and true to the story. And it was at this point where people were dragging Jay White quite a bit. Jay White at that point was the newer person. MJF had been in AEW for the past several years, and it was very easy for fans to go look at that match and say, well, this match sucked, this moment sucked, this main event sucked, and it's the guy who's been here the least amount of times fault. And I do believe that that is what happened. People projected that failure onto Jay White, and it is something that has really followed him throughout. And if we look at where Jay White was and kind of where he is now, he suffered an injury. He was out for a prolonged period of time throughout 2024, reappearing and then doing a feud with Hangman Adam Page that he ended up winning. And after that, and after he even got an AEW World Championship match, the unfortunate reality is things kind of came back down to earth. And it is indicative of an issue that AEW has with their booking of both Jay White and several other AEW talent. And that is a feeling of importance, or in this case, a lack thereof. Jay White does not feel like an important character on the show. There are certain moments, certain times where people think he's funny. There are certain moments and certain times where people think he's serious. There's certain moments and certain times where Jay White allows his brilliance to shine. But the stories that he's in and the way that AEW chooses not to develop his character is an indictment on the talent and everything that has been built up to this point. You didn't sign Jay White to have him come in and be someone who just shows up as great matches, cuts a good promo every once in a while. You signed him to be a main event player because that's what he is, and that's what he's proven to be his entire career. And I put a lot of the blame for this on AEW booking. I think that if you look at Jay White now, he's probably regressed to probably the least important version of himself. He is a lackey. He is a sidekick to Adam Copeland and is not really a feared character on the show. In fact, he is a bit of a sideshow. He's a bit of a clown right now. And that is not what the Switchblade character is all about. The Switchblade character is about kicking ass. The Switchblade character is about being one of the most lethal and quick attackers in the game. And this gets to one of the bigger issues that AEW has had, and that has been an issue of identity over the past 2 years. And while they have improved immensely and really gotten back to what made that company great and what people really want out of professional wrestling, Jay White has not gotten back to that point. And right now, at this moment, while you can never say never, I don't think that it is possible given the path that he's on, as it looks like he will be facing off at some point with Adam Copeland in a feud. And I don't think that that's going to do him many favors. If AEW truly want to fix Jay White, if they truly want to address the issues, they have to make people care about Jay White. They have to make people feel for Jay White. They have to give people a reason to be invested emotionally in the Switchblade. Can they do it? I'm sure they can. There's a million different ways to book, and as far as we know, they're already cooking it up. But hey, I guess we'll see.